Okay, so we're going to start working on our mechanics now and getting them all nice and good. I have done a little bit of work on these, mainly because Camtasia crashed. So, yeah, we're having a bit of trouble with Camtasia lately. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to do these anyway, but I won't go through the entire process, simply because it would take a while. So this is the finished worlds and such. Obviously we're going to come in later on and sculpt in some bits of detail and scratches and whatnot in the destruction phase. It's alright. But it's just a matter of getting these all linked up. So just to show you how it actually works, if I just add in a edge loop here, I won't keep this by the way, I'm going to save that now in case I delete it. Cursor to selected, and we're just going to, might as well just duplicate this. Alright, so we have two pieces that come together like that. Important that they are eight-sided because it is easier. They don't have to be, but it does make it a lot easier to do. So we're going to add an edge loop here, edge loop here. Going to delete this vertex, select those, I'm going to go W Loop Tools Bridge and just press F6 and change the twist factor to make it fit. Now add an edge loop over there, edge loop there, and edge loop there. Okay, almost finished. Add one more in there, scale it out, and do a rough bit of sculpting and such, and we get some nice looking results. So bring that one down to there and pull this in, get a bit of a sharp piece. Okay. So yeah, that is basically how you weld things together. Okay, nice and easy. The other thing I have is over here. Right down here we have some bolts. Now these are also not very hard to create, but I have created a high poly bolt and a low poly bolt. So this one here is quite detailed. It's got the 16 on the top for the 16 gauge or 16mm, whatever that stands for. It's got a nut, a washer, just some basic stuff, and then I've just replicated it with a very low poly geometry. And what we're going to do is we're going to texture this and get this all looking nice, and then we'll copy all of the textures, all of the normal maps, everything onto this one. And then for close-up scenes we can use this, and for everything else we'll use these ones. So notice in here I've used the low poly ones just on these, and they look nice like that. They stick through the bottom as well. So you can see we've got the washers and nuts on the bottom there as well. So these kind of are sticking through a little. Important that they are not sticking through like that. Okay, so yeah, just as a bit of detail, just seeing those sticking through the bottom. Alright, so first things first, let's do some tires. So I'm going to go Shift D, move this one here over to the bottom layer, and let's just go select that side, delete, I'm going to delete that and enable clipping, just so we've got our base tire like this again, and just shape it a little more like we want. So something like that is fine. I'm not really sure what design I want to go for, but I have a lot of, actually not really a lot, I've got about 6 images in here of different tire ideas. So yeah, things like this. This looks quite nice. It'll be quite easy just to stick pieces on like this, and they don't necessarily have to be joined. It'll be nice to have them joined, but they don't have to be. I'm going to have a go at joining them up. So yeah, we'll see how we can go with that. This one here also has quite nice designs on it. This one here, I quite like this design where they kind of taper in. So yeah, that's just some ideas to keep in mind. And let's just see how we go. So I'm going to rotate this one. Alright, so seeing how I can get this to work. Effectively I want this to taper in a little. So I might just add in some divisions here first. Just rotate that one around. Get something looking like that. Which may seem a little weird, but what we're going to do is going to apply that modifier. Is we want to go vertex, and take this one and that one. Actually, we'll just take these. Just go rotate them around the X a little more. And okay, so we are effectively going to grab a couple of these. Just leave that one in the middle. Scale this one in. Just not looking like it's scaling straight to the center, interestingly enough. Right, yeah, we should X. Oh, that's why. That's what we want. Alright, so that adds that little groove in the middle. We can now grab these in any sort of pattern that we want. So, for example, if we want to have a bit of a gap out here, we could do that. We could grab these and grab those. Have something like this. We could do the same on the other side as well. It's a very customizable thing. And what we do from here is we basically extrude this out, push it out as long as normals. Not too far, just enough to give it a bit of tread. Scale them in a bit like that. And voila, we have some tread. So yeah, that's how the tread patterns work. We can kind of just see what else we could do. Just want to keep it not being straight. I'm just saying if I extrude that, how is that one? That's fine. Yeah. Even alternate them. This way here would take a little longer, based on the fact that you've got to literally go through and select them manually. But it gets a nice effect. Yeah, I might do it like this. Alright, so skip 1, skip 2, skip 1, skip 2. And yeah, each second one is a straight. So yeah, grab that one, this one, and come straight across here. Alright. Now that I'm doing this, I'm hoping that it's divisible enough that we can actually do it. Occasionally you get around to the other side of the tyre and you find out it's not even going to work, which is annoying. But that's what happens when you don't work it out first. So yeah, as you can see, this is what's happened. We now have a double up around here. So yeah, that pattern's not going to work. Let's try this one. Okay, so I have made a tyre tread. Now, it might look really complex from first glance, and that's what I thought of when I first created tyres and stuff, but it's really not. It's quite simple. What I've done is I've created a circle with 128, I think, 132, sorry, vertices, which is 33 times 4, which I calculated as the amount I needed, so I could have that particular pattern come through. And then I came in afterwards and decided to add in these sort of extra tread bits. And you can also come and try and sort of sharpen these edges up and see what that looks like. I'm not quite sure whether I like that or not. Don't think it's quite my thing, but if it is yours, then by all means go ahead and do that. Sharpen up this one, and just add in a few more details around the side here. That's just like a rim on there. Helps move this bit out and just scale that down a little. And that just adds a little bit of flair to it. You can do the same on this side. Make sure you add in this little edge loop here, otherwise you'll get tons of 6-pointers coming around, and no one wants that. Alright, so we're almost done with this tyre. Just look at my reference, we have a few more bits and pieces to do. Namely, got to add in edge loop there, and grab these. I'm just going to scale these out along the X. Just give it a bit of a bulge, to give it the impression that there's actually air inside it. And this one here, just going to scale this in, extrude it out and give it another little ridge. This ridge here I'm going to sharpen up. Just like so. And we can sharpen up the other side as well. Alright. Make sure they're roughly the same on both sides. Something like that, and we now have a very heavy duty tyre. I think this was the original. Yeah, there we go, that was one I was working with before. And you can see where I just took it, cranked the divisions up and made it look awesome. So yeah, we can put that on smooth shading. There's definitely enough divisions in there. Optimal display, and that'll cut it down a little. So yeah, we have 122,000 faces just on the tyre alone. If we come back onto the vehicle, this is what it would look like on the actual vehicle, which you gotta say is actually pretty awesome. We just hide that and delete this one. Alt H. Okay, this one here, just going to add in a mirror. It's going to be center. It's the offset. And it's going to go Control L and go link object data. And Control L, link modifiers. Alright, now this is a very intense scene now. We are up to just over 1 million faces. That normally runs smoothly, but at the moment it's really not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide the back ones for now. And with the front ones, I'm just going to make sure that there's enough room on them. These ones are a little bit wider than they were before. Not by much, but they are a little. So something like that will be quite suitable. Alright, so grabbing these, grab those hubs, move these all down to, not grab, cancel, move them all down to that layer. On this layer, we can hide those. On these ones, I'm just going to problem when you get high poly stuff, it just doesn't work very well, especially considering I'm doing all this on a laptop at the moment. Okay, there you go, they're back. So I can probably leave that at 2. I'm just going to turn it off on the display. Same for this one. And now we can actually move around our scene much nicer. So you can see we've still got the fairly high poly count there. But that is a reasonable amount to be using on your wheels. So I'm just going to save this. And time to look up some hubs. So in my reference folder, just find something that you like in the way of hubs. That looks too toy carish. This one here, I quite like the deep rims. So you might do something like that. So these ones here now. Okay. So just sort of coming up with what we want in the way of rooms. So sharpening up this edge here. I'll sharpen up that one as well. And we get something like this happening. Alright. Check out optimal display, into edit mode. Move this across. Remove doubles. I'm just going to hide this tile for now. I'm going to have that sitting about there. Right. These ones at the back, I'm just going to turn the subsurf on these off as well. Should just make it a little easier to get around. And once again, just move them out of friction. Right, so just delete those ones. And with this bit in the center, I'm just going to go Shift D, and actually, let's select this, Shift S, cursor to selected, add mesh, add in a cylinder. This can have 8. I'm just going to scale this down, 90, and just delete that face and delete this face. what I'm doing now is sort of like the little piece that holds it on. Holds everything together. Always get my edge loops in the wrong place. Something like that. Now these, just going to extrude these in. Extruding a little, extruding more, and then just sharpen these up. We can make these all lower poly counts later if we want. But you can kind of see how this is working. It'd be nice if you could specify direction on your subsurface, so I could only have subdivisions around this way, and around the other way I don't really need them. Unfortunately we can't, but that's alright. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the center one, move it out a little further, just sort of make it a little distinct. Add in a mesh, add in a cylinder, F6, this is going to be 6. Cap type is going to be trunk fan, scale this down. To the other side because it won't be seen. Alright, so just gonna go. And these, just gonna bevel these up. Alright. So we end up with something like that. That is fine for now. Right, so add in a sphere. That's a few too many polygons. Add in a sphere, and we're going to go cut that down in half, so 16 and 8. And that's a little more like it. RY90. Alright, and yeah. Delete the ones we can't see. Set shading to smooth, and there you have it. Alright. Just going to apply a level 1 subdivision surface on this. Just remove all the ones we don't need. basically everything that's not doing anything. Probably most of these. The reason behind this is I want to add in another subsurf. Alright. So what I'm going to try and do now, and hopefully succeed, I'm going to first add an edge loop along there. I'm just going to go select every n number, and it'll select every second one. What I can do is then go extrude, Alt S to scale along normals, and just repeat that again, and we get sort of like a spindle lock look on this, which worked right actually. So yeah, I'm not going to complain about how that turned out. And yeah, it's just sort of like a detailed little knob thingy. Alright, so just going to join all these up, Control J, get one solid mesh that will mirror over to the other side. And yeah, I'm just going to take a quick drink. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just quickly create another bit. So if I just grab one of these, Shift D along X, get this in. Alright, so this one is usually on the other side of it, and do something like that. Alright, now it seems a little strange, but it's kind of like how it goes. So I'm just going to scale this in, and then something like that. Let's move, recalculate the normals. And yeah, basically that's just where the axle comes in, and got our steering rack and pinion and suspension or whatever comes out there. So yeah, that's the tyres done. So the wheels and the hubs. We'll do the rear one when we come back to it. But yeah, it's looking quite nice at this stage. We switch this over to flat shading. Probably look a little nicer at the moment, just until we get around to like render time and stuff. And yeah, that's those are some intense wheels, man. Not quite too sure about doing the whole four-wheel steering thing anymore, just for the sake of these wheels being so big. But we will definitely have it steering on the front at least. So yeah, I'm actually going to, it's quite late at night, so I'm actually going to wrap up this piece and I'll come back probably in about 3 seconds for you guys tomorrow morning. Okay, so we are going to get in and do some mechanics. And hopefully it will work this time after 3 blue screens today. Anywho, what we're going to do is we're going to create a brake drum. I'm going to get rid of those, get rid of that. Going to switch over to our mechanics layer and tires layer. So we're just working with this. Let's go as quickly as I possibly can while keeping it a reasonable speed that you guys can learn. Alright, so triangle fan, just going to scale this one down. Rotate Y by 90 degrees. Pull that out along the X-axis. Delete that back vertice. Pull this one out. Grab these, E, scale, shift X. Yep. Scale, shift X. Something like that. Alright, so select these edges. Sharpen them up. This one a little bit. But mostly we're going to grab that. Extrude, scale down, scale in, extrude in, delete faces. So this one is going to be set to 1, this one here, set to 0, and that is a brake drum. Cool. Let's keep going. Add in a cylinder. Y90. About here-ish. Delete those two. Delete these. That one. Add in a mirror modifier. It's going to be set to Y and Z, oh, X and Z, sorry, flipping enabled. And if I just go Control 1, move that up and just apply that. And I'll probably move that down, just go. Alright, so G Shift X, pull that up to there. G Shift X, pull it up to there. Make sure these are all out and fine. Delete those ones again, add in that mirror. So that would just get those extra divisions that I want. Okay, so extrude this one out, like so. Extrude that one, just going to give that a subdivision surface modifier. Pull this one out a little. And what we're going to do now is extrude this skeleton. Select the faces. Make sure I've got a bit of thickness on this. Alright. So what I'm doing now is just putting this into a relatively circular shape. Like so. Alright, so obviously I have a interior face in there and all the way down here. Okay. That is looking better. Alright. Add edge loop there, edge loop there, edge loop here, edge loop there, and we get this kind of thing happening. Scale these in a bit. And might as well just make sure these are all circular. So just going Shift S, cursor to selected. Shift Alt S, 1. And make sure it is a circle. Alright. By the looks of it, we just need to do this. More circle it is, the better. So grab that, pull it in, pull it across, pull that one across, and we are almost done. Just grab those and scale them in along the X axis. Alright. Okay, so what we need to have is we need to have a piece coming from this block thing. So probably scale down, move up a little. That there. Now we need to have a bit coming off here into here. And that will be the drive, so where power comes from. Going to have a bit coming along the top to a piece coming off the side over here, and that will be the what's called the steering. So our entire piece is steered by this, and yeah, this needs to be, it'll steer like that. Although, if I just apply that mirror, Shift S, cursor to selected, and go Control Alt Shift C, origin to 3D cursor, now we should be able to rotate like so. Alright. probably have that pivoting from the center there. Alright, yeah. Something like that anyway. So we're not going to spend too much time, mainly because this is the third time I have created this. But apart from that, it is just a lot of pieces that come in here that aren't really going to get seen. So we can texture in pieces to make them fit. And now that we have a solder there, we can actually come in and line these up better. Much better, actually. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does help. Alright, so we have one piece there, and we also need to have another one of these. DX, we're going to go rotate Z 90, rotate X 90. Let's scale this one down, this one's a little smaller. And actually what this one is this is a piece that connects from here to here, and it's just a direct connection. So we'll need to have these two outward from the tyre. No. Here. Right, and we need to join this and this one together. So the way these work is this here can move up and down like this, so the tyre can move up and down with it, and as it does that, from the base, this base stretches out to each of these corners with a piece of suspension, and it will compress and such to look nice, effectively. And with heavier vehicles, they have dual suspensions coming up just so that they can have a bit of sideways movement as well. Obviously these parts are not designed to move sideways, but the suspension allows for it without anything breaking, or something like that. I don't know. Ask a mechanic and he'll probably be able to explain it a little better. So I'm just going to save this. Alright, so let's just join these two. Move these up to the top and give it a bit of a cap. And just going to see how I want this to play out. So rotate this around 5. Pull these forward a little. Might actually just see if I can connect these. So delete those vertices. Right, so move that back. Should be able to delete half this mesh. Add in a mirror. like so. Sharpen that up afterwards. And that connected quite nicely actually. So the tricky thing now is getting these sharpened up. So we can try and sharpen it up there, and that will give us these grooves going down the side. So to fix that, we'll go edge slide. And we'll just turn it into part of the mesh there. Alright. Let's do the same with this one. Alright. So, yeah. Alright, let's pull this piece up. Somewhere about there-ish. Select this piece, Shift D, Z, and then I'm going to drag it down. So that's not going to work, so just go Shift S, cursor to selected, add in a circle with 8 points on it. And we're going to take it from about here. Alright, this is coming along quite nicely. We do, however, need to piece there and go scale that out. We'll probably use mean crease on this. There we go. Alright, and now we'll go add mesh, add in a UV sphere. Like so. Alright, and the UV sphere is just, it's kind of like a little little squishy thing that is squishy. I have no other way to describe that. Set that to smooth, recalculate those normals. So these two just move. Save that. Saving, very important. Alright. Shift S, cursor selected, add mesh, add in a cylinder. That's triangle fan. And have that rotated around X90. I'm going to be adding a few in this direction, so might as well do that. Scale on Y. Okay. So just adding a bit of a piece on the end. Another one on the other side. Okay. Might actually just grab these and I'm just going to rotate them around the y-axis 22.5 degrees just so they all keep the same heading. Grab this piece and we're just going to extrude it into there. Delete the faces and we should be able to set that as smooth. That. Come here. Join that, add in a mirror. And the subsurf level 2. Just going to delete those faces. Move that into there. Just going to go extrude it all the way over to the other side. And we get something looking a little like that. Okay, and now we can grab this and we can rotate this around X, around Y. Obviously it's not going to work exactly as intended at the moment because of that piece that comes out the bottom. But don't worry about that. That, according to my reference, that's how they actually are. And yeah, I assume this piece on the bottom can actually, that piece on the bottom can actually move around a little inside of this. So So if I grab this piece and separate by selection, then we can grab this and we can rotate that up and down without having to worry about this one. Yeah. Anyways, Animator will sort that out. Can't sound me leaving to the Animator, but they kind of know how this stuff works. And they send it back to you and say, we need this piece modelled and we need it textured appropriately, and then you go and fix it. And yeah, that's that part of it done. Right, so now we need to have a way for it to connect to the tyre. So my guess is that we're going to be relying on the tyre connecting to this. So there'll just be a pipe coming through, and this will be connected to the to that pipe. So let's do that now. Shift S, cursor to selected, add mesh, add in a solder. Alright. RY90. Grab that one, pull this one out. Delete those faces. It's kind of annoying me, that little piece in the middle there, so I can fix that with another edge loop. Okay, so we've got this piece comes out. Come out to approximately about here-ish, and then there'll be a little bit of a ball joint thing. Then it'll go up to here, and there'll be another little joint thing. And yeah, that is fine like that. So we just need to be able to connect this piece onto this somehow. Let's look up a few more references in the reference folder. Find this, see how this is connected. And let's go. Alright. So this one here looks like it's a driving wheel. Not that we can see any of the driving parts. Alright. Okay, so you can see we've got that bit that comes down, this bit that we made. We can't see the other side of where they connect. This one might have it, there we go. Alright, so it just goes in. It's connected to there. Screw it. Let's just make something up. So what we're going to do is just go and add in a cylinder. So we'll just duplicate this one. Finish it up all the way over to there. Bring that in. I'm just going to have some sort of a piece this is all connected to. we had, perhaps we could have this out here. Such a confusing thing to get these attached. Let's just leave it for now. I'll come back to it later. It has been half an hour now. Alright. So we've got this piece comes off here. We want to have a bit that comes off this one. I'm just going to go U, object and data. It's going way out too far that side. GYY. Turn on those key status displays for you. I always forget to turn them on after the Blender crashes. Alright. So I'm going to delete that vertex. I'm also going to delete half of it and turn on a mirror modifier. Right, so something like that. Just like a little hole on the side. And yeah, it doesn't need to make sense. Well, it needs to make sense, it just doesn't need to be correct. It's probably the best way of saying it. Alright, add in a mesh, add in a cylinder. Okay, so this will come out here. We'll have some joint piece and then it will go down to the tire. Oh, sorry. Alright. This one's a little too big. I want it to be about that size. Okay. Let's work on the joint now. So move that back while I do this. And the joint is going to be eyes like this. Fairly simple. So I'm just going to rotate this one by 90 over here. Going to delete that side, add in a mirror. So we only have to model one half of it. Okay, so bring that across. join these. And it looks something like this. Okay, so I'm just going to delete those faces on the inside. Those bits done, we can now delete the bottom half. Add Z into the mirror. Okay. Alright, now it may seem really weird having a joint like this, but it's kind of like how they work. Spread that out a little. Ah, that looks better. Okay, so let's move on this. Calculate those normals. And sharpen up the inside. Okay, now I'm just going to go Alt D on the X as the 180. It's 18. Z 180. X 90. And we're just going to make sure that these joints can actually go together. And that means splitting this out a little. So they need to be that wide. So if we go add in a UV sphere, which is what's at the center of all these joints, about there, this is where it needs to fit. Okay, so I'm just going to switch this one here to display a wire. Don't need that concept data up anymore. Display a wire, and now we can see how far we need to pull this in order to make it function. So right around that side. That's close enough. So we can reveal this now. Solid. So that change to smooth. And if we go Shift S, cursor to selected, we can delete that one, Control Alt Shift C, origin to 3D cursor. And now when we rotate this, it will rotate around that sphere, which is pretty cool. Okay, so perspective view again. So we're going to go Shift D, RZ 180, RX 90, and we now have it based on this, so we can rotate it down, and these ones can go on X. We can delete that one, and we get a point like this, and these kind of like spin around really fast. It's kind of intersecting there. That's alright. Yeah, so I'm not really sure why they don't, like, I don't know, jam up and stuff. Maybe they do. Maybe this is like an old way of doing them. But on the references I looked at on some old Utes, they had this kind of thing for their drive system. So I might just move that in a little, and alright. So yeah, just position them where I see fit. Right. Just gonna take a look at my references again to see what we can do here. So we need to join that in somehow. And I think we might just use the same technique. So I'm going to go Shift D, S -1 along XX. S XX0. Okay, so something like that. Okay. Cool. just going to position this one so it's in place. Something like that. This piece goes all the way into tire and stuff, and snap that down around it. Alright, and that's kind of like a little drive thingy. So it doesn't really logically work. Technically that would probably lock up really fast, but when it's moving over like that, it looks cool. So that is what I'm relying on to work, effectively. Alright, so let's do some suspension now. And we don't have a drive system yet. So, not a drive system, we have a drive system, we don't have a steering system. So the steering system is going to be based off of this one. If I move that backwards a little, that'll probably make it a little easier. So or maybe if I go into edit mode, and we perhaps take one segment from here, and we turn this into a little notch for whatever it's called. Yes, one, scale this down. Alright, something like that. That worked quite well. Okay, so now we have this little notch that comes out of here. Probably should have given it a bit of groove there, that's alright. And what we're going to do here is have this piece come over to the steering system. So I'm going to add in the solar, RY90. I'm just going to clear out the X location so it's straight in the center. And this piece tends to be mounted directly under here. So scale Shift X, thicken this up a little. Alright. So, steering system goes there. There-ish. And just making sure this is going to work. If I go to about there-ish, and come back a little. I think it needs to be pretty much in line with that piece. Problem is I don't want it to be snapped off by this. I'll pull it out there, probably extend this out a little. So that includes this piece. Okay. So I'm going to go Shift D and I'm going to duplicate this one out to probably about here. Seems to be a good distance. So we can now delete this and delete that bit. Let's go loop tools, bridge. Okay, and that seems to work alright. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I'll pull this one back to here. That'll give us just enough room so it's clear of this and we can have our pieces come off. Delete that one, add in a mirror modifier, clipping. Alright. Scale this one down a little. And what we need to have is showing how this piece is connected. Just looking on this, it's apparently just floating there, which does not make sense because this is not a render, I don't think. It could be a render. It looks like it could be a render. Yeah, it's this. Oh, it's attached to this piece that comes down. I see how that happens. So that bit comes up, comes down, comes around, connects into there. Alright, so I think I might just attach it straight underneath this. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go Shift D, separate by selection. Okay, extrude this along. Scale Shift X, this a little bit thinner. Origin to 3D cursor, and I just want to go rotate around the Y. Move the mirror on this one. And I need to have it connect onto this. So I just go Shift S, goes to selected, Shift A, add in a cylinder. Scale that down. Okay, add each loop down here. So another one of those little bracket things. And on the top, let's just bring this up. Drew that out, scale x 0. Now I'm just thinking if I had this back about there, here, that would make a little more sense. That's kind of floating in the middle there. That's okay, we can add in another bracket for that. So what I want to do is I want to pull this back. This up and just gonna so that creates a little whole piece. Just need to get this to fit in it. Something like that. Okay. Alright. Let's add in a cylinder. Probably going to sick of me saying let's add in a cylinder, but screw it, I like cylinders. Alright, so I'm just going to go. Oh, no, wrong button. I want to go slash, not play. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to turn this into a little boot. Not a boot that you wear, this is like a boot for mechanics. Let's add about that many. And what I'm going to do is add in some more, so I'm going to add in one there. I'm just going to select every second one. And now we're just going to extrude these out. And a subsurf, I'm just going to go Alt S and just going to scale them down a little. Delete these. Alright. just going to add in a lattice. Something like that. And go Control P, lattice to form. And now we can like move these bits around. Okay, so let's just grab this, scale that in. Something like so. Which somewhat turns this square by the looks. Just round this back out. Alright. Now we apply that lattice, we can delete the lattice, get this thing, which is a boot. So apply a little bit of variation to it. If you want, you can use the displacement modifier, but for now this is fine. So you can sort of squash and stretch it and whatever. Just go to desk, it's selected, Control Alt Shift C, origin to 3D cursor, embed slash so we can exit that, scale it down. Okay, scale it down to about there-ish. Just gonna give it enough room to fit. Okay, so add another lattice. Once again, we're going to increase those three. Control P, lattice to form, and this one here we can actually just add a subsurf to that. Click that vertex on each side. Shading smooth, that's that one done. What we're going to do with this one is we're going to move up and around. And just generally make it fit. Cool. So I'm going to Shift D, duplicate this one, RZ 180, and might as well go RX 180. Have it already in the right position. Okay, and with this one here, we can now just give it some tweaks. And that's how we do that. Okay, so let's go Control 2, adding the subsurf modifier to this. I'll apply the mirror over about here, maybe move this over a little. Actually it's going to be on the other side because this is the steering rack thing. Right, E, scale, shift X, just thicken this bit up. Thicken that bit up like so. And yeah, that's that steering piece done. You can see it takes a really long time to create mechanics for vehicles. Alright, so I'm just going to end the piece. Just duplicate this one. Scale along the Z, scale along the Y. Just have that piece there welded in to hold our rack. While we're at it, we can probably add a subsurf to this and sharpen this up with edge loops. Kind of sounds like I'm talking about a breakfast cereal. Sharpen up your day with edge loops. Okay. This is a lot of edge loops, but it's necessary to get a really nice looking frame. So you can see how this is working for us. When we've added in our edge loops, we're going to delete the ends and we'll use a solidify to give them that bit of that, a little bit extra. Makes them look nice. And we can also means we can sculpt in some detail on them when we do our destruction. Right. Kind of got distracted here going around the whole vehicle and doing these, but it's alright, I had to do them at some point anyway. Alright, that one there. Sometimes perspective view can just get really annoying, so feel free to switch to orthographic now and then. One of the things I never liked when working with Autodesk Maya is not having a perspective orthographic, whatever it is, when you can move your orthographic view and rotate it around and stuff while you've got the camera selected. Yeah, Maya makes it really difficult. It is possible. I did work out a way to get it working, but I like just being able to press 5 and switch into that mode automatically. Alright, so I should have something like that for your frame now, which it's smooth. That looks much nicer. It's definitely getting there. Alright. So what you can do now is you can grab some of these ones and just delete the vertices. So that's much easier in face mode, where you can just select that one, delete vertices instead of faces, and it will clean that up for us. Doesn't have to be on all of them, just ones that are sticking out. But you are welcome to go and do it on all of them if you so please. Remember, the ones you don't do it on, you might want to... Oh, I've already done that now. The ones you don't do it on, you might want to come in and separate them out so you don't add the solidify to them when you're not going to see solidify anyway. Alright, so add in solidify. Make sure your scale is at 1 for your object. And you want to tone it down a little. Give it a bit of a crease. Go even thickness and high quality normals. And that'll give it a very nice look for you. Remember, it does increase the poly count quite a lot. So you've got 146,000 faces now. I turn solidify off, we have 126. So yeah, just bear that in mind. You can go through and manually solidify and it will get much nicer. Okay, so with that set up, after we got a little distracted, it's going to grab this one, separate by selection, grab it again, and what I'm going to do now is Control-Alt-Shift-C, origin to geometry. I'm going to delete those two and those two. Grab these four and just pull them up into there. Add in a solidify modifier. Let's give it a bit of thickness, and there we go. Do another one over here. I'm going to go scale, shift X, and just thicken this up a little. And stick that one around there as well. Alright, so it's coming along quite nicely now. So we've got our steering rack, we've got our drive. We just need to get our suspension done, and then what we can do is we can connect it up with the wheel. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to come back in a bit and I will do that then. Alright, welcome back, and what we're going to do now is create some suspension. So we've got most of the stuff all looking nice now. We should probably smooth shade this. Anyways, what we need is we need to have some suspension that comes from here up to the top. And to do this, we're going to jump on a new layer and just start creating some suspension from scratch. Alright, so I'm going to add in a cylinder, scale this down. Scale this up to be about the right size. Shift D, Z, scale along Shift Z, and we'll get a sort of a secondary piece. And this is sort of what allows for the stretching and stuff. So yeah, kind of looks like that. Alright, so what we're going to do now is just move that off to the side. We want to create a curve circle. Alright, something like that. Change them to free. We can change them off being cyclic. And you can adjust your resolution and stuff there if you want to. Alright. And what I'm going to do is move these around, so go GZ4, should go, that's going to go all the way up there. I'm going to go GZ.4, GZ.3, GZ.2 and GZ.1. And that sort of creates us a nice spirally pattern. Of course, this isn't going to be right, so you might be able to just switch those to auto, and those N ones aren't going to work too well, but these ones will. So we can switch those two to auto. Alright, so GZ.1 negative, and we can create as many of these as we want, so if we can actually just go Shift D, Z, and bring this up to 0.4, should be right, and join those, and switch them to auto. Now if we go into our bevel settings and just bevel these up, change that over to full, you can can do stuff like this. You'll get a nice spring forming. Cool. Alright, so you can keep going, go Shift D, Z, 0.8 now is the next one. And create as many of those as you want. Grab all of those except for the N2, switch them over to auto. Auto, there we go. That'll smooth them all up a little. And what we can do now is just scale this down and pull it over to fit. We just go Alt G on these two. Alright. So just move that up to the top there. Alright, so if I just go Shift D and move this over to the last layer, to our junk layer, we'll be able to go Alt C, and before we go Alt C, we will want to take our resolution down to something a little more manageable. If we do 2, that's the equivalent of an 8, and we can get our bevel resolution down to either 1 or 2. I'll change that down to 1, that should be fine. Alt C, mesh from curve, and what I want to do now is select this piece, separate that, delete those, same with that. Should theoretically be able to turn this into an array. Originally I was just going to set it up manually, but this way gives us a bit more ability to extend it. Alright, so find out where these two are joining. Right there. And you want to get them as close as possible. So alright, so something like that. Merge first last. Obviously it's not merging at the moment. Turn this on, and the reason for that is that of that. So I select these, Shift D, Z, just drag them up there. Bridge those. Right. And I reckon if I have this one here, rotate around a little. So best way to have it rotate around its normal is you can switch this over to normal, and you can see its normal face is not going to be facing the right way, so we can go extrude, merge at center, Control plus, and now we have this Z one that's facing the right way. So we can go RZZ, and we can rotate this one here by the RZZ 22.5, or nope, RZZ 30. Okay. You can see this one here is now the actual opposite. So I'm just going to make these go RZZ 15 negative, and this one here I'm going to go extrude, put M at center, Control plus, RZZ 15 negative, X faces, and now they're kind of like meeting in the middle. Right, now I'll change this to fit length, and now we can just like adjust the length a little, add a subsurf to that, probably a little denser that solution, so probably just cut that down to 1. Maybe a 1 in the view and 2 in render time. Right. Cool. Alright, so we have the beginnings of a piece of suspension here. I'll actually just delete that one on the end. Delete that edge loop, we don't need them. Likewise with this one, and that edge loop. We don't need them because we're going to place a cap over the top, which we can do now. So I can extrude this, scale it out. Right, add modifier, I'm going to add in a solidify. Just turn up those inner and outer creases. Something like that anyway. That's the piece for one side. Probably should just pull this up. And the other side we'll use a similar thing. Right, so I'm going to extrude this up, scale, Shift Z, scale this out a little. Something like that. Origin to geometry. I'm just going to come up and sort of sharpen these up. Check those ones up. And I'm just going to add in a groove. Extrude down. Alright, so that's sort of like the cap on this side, and it's just sort of one that it sits in and does that kind of stuff. Edge loop down here, it's out. Actually, if I go into edge, I can just grab these, turn up that mean crease. Some of those ones. Get something looking like that. And that is a piece of suspension. Now if you want to thicken this all up, you can actually do that by using Alt-S. Bear in mind that you'll need to reset your arrays and stuff. Okay, so let's bring this back into the mechanics section. And I just noticed there's probably a whole bunch of, mechanics on the wrong piece here. I'll just move that to layer 1. So I'm going to grab all these, scale them down. And move them into place. Right, now the real trick here is figuring out where we want to have this and how long it should be. So I'm thinking I'll need to select these, parent them to that, so I can just move this one around. And I can just go. So I'll place this one and it will follow accordingly. Right, so I'm not actually going to scale it along the Z, by the way, seeing how well it fits being up there. Right, so what we need is this going needs to be from up here to down here somewhere. So let's go add in a empty. Move that over to here. Select this one. I'm going to go add in a constraint. Now this one here is going to be a, where is it? Track 2. There we go, track 2 constraint. And track this to that empty. And we just figure out which one is going to work. And be in local space, local space. Alright. Maybe this should be world space. World space. Ah, got it. Alright. So it's a little bit finicky to get working sometimes, but just need to keep at it and it'll work eventually. So this one, I'm going to drag this over a bit and back. I'm going to have sort of like a couple of pieces there. Alright. I'm going to switch this from normal to local. And we want these to stretch down as far as we can. So it's going to be a lot of suspension movement in these, so we want to have it roughly about here-ish. So this one can go right down there. The distance on this array can go up. So we have something like so. Yeah. Right, and now we have a much longer piece of suspension. So we select these, we should be able to go Alt-D along the Y. And then move this one over. There we go. Okay, so switch back to world space now. Global is the one. So we're going to have this out front. Right. It might seem a little weird having suspension like this, but surprisingly it actually works. Now if we want to scale these both in together, we can switch on this little button down here with the arrows and 3 dots and just go scale along the Y. And that will have it so you can only move things, they don't do anything but move, which is fantastic. But if we have them too close, then obviously it's going to get in the way of our steering rail. So we want to have them far enough apart that they won't do that. So we need to be a little further away. And yeah, I mean that looks cool like that. That's all we need, something to look cool. Okay, remember to turn that off. If you ever wonder, by the way, why you can't scale or rotate things, it's that button. That seriously took me like a month to figure out. I've been using Blender for about, I think, 3 months, and that happened to me. I'd obviously accidentally clicked that button, and I could not work it out at all. Eventually I found the button, and yeah. That was right back when I first started doing tutorials, actually. Okay, so select this one here. We want to grab these vertices, Shift D, Shift Z. We want to have one there and go Shift D, Y. Have it over there. Alright, so I might just do one for now. So it's extruding this, scaling it out along in everything but Z. Alright. So just filling this in, making it look like it was built to be like this, not just some guy thinking to put it in. Yeah, that looks quite cool like that actually. Okay, so select these, just box select, it's quicker. Shift D with Y, rotate that around so it's facing the direction we want. Okay. Time to join these up. Don't worry so much if they don't seem to be lining up too well. We can fix that quite easily. Right, so that one there done. I'm just gonna move this over a little. Alright, now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to delete these. I'm going to join up the entire section in one big mechanical piece of stuff. Alright, so join these ones, these ones. Alright, now for here, I'm actually going to add an edge loop around here. So I can have that piece. And we end up with a funky looking thing like that. And you gotta admit, that looks pretty cool. Alright. Just make sure that's all lined up before it starts going up. Okay. Now that one needs to be in the center there, this one, center here. we will actually just leave these empties in. That'll make it nice and easy for animating and stuff. So we can sort of go move these around, and we'll actually the animator will come in and we'll do like an actual deformer on this so that it will compress and stuff. So namely this one here goes, yeah, that's how that one squishes and stretches. And if you have this one here done as a, so you figure out the length, and if you have this one here as a actual curve, you can scale it up and down and you can keep the thickness the same. So at the moment if we scale this down, it doesn't really compress. That's due to this being a mesh, not a curve. So yeah, that's that thing. Okay, so joining these ones up, we want to have a ball on it. So I'm going to go Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, add in a cylinder. Of course, knowing me, always got to add in that cylinder. Alright, this one, scale, Shift S, scale that out a little. Alright, so it's one of those. And what we're going to do here is we're going to have sort of like a, how do I describe this? Scale that one out. Okay, what we have here is we have like a little swiveling piece, and on the top we will have a couple of cubes. And they will have some pieces on them. Turn that onto optimal display, optimal display. Always forget to put optimal display on things. Right. Okay, so we have these, and what we're going to do is delete that face on the bottom, and we need to have sort of like a rounded thing. Alright, so it's fairly easy to do. Might just add in 2 edge loops there. So peel that one out. Okay, Control 2 just to add in a subdivision surface. I might just delete one side for now while I work on this side. So if I go Shift S, cursor to selected here, we can select all of these, go Shift Alt S 1, that was a bit of a spaz. something like that. Now we can delete this vertice. Shift-S, 1, extrude, scale this in, and just extrude this over, something like so. Delete those faces, and we're going to sharpen up these edges here. And the ones in the center as well. Make the modifiers, make them smooth. And we have something like so. Alright, so in the center of this, we're going to add in, let's go, Shift-S, cursor to selected, Shift-A, add mesh, add in a UV sphere, just cut this down in half because it's really small. Y90, shading smooth on that, and Shift-S, cursor to selected, grab this one, Shift-S, selection to cursor, and we can now have this one here a part of this. So let's go Alt-R, you need to have this one here facing this. So we can actually add in that constraint again, add the track to. Now this one here is cylinder 38, we can copy that from there. Go track to this one. And something like that. Okay, Control J to join those two. And we're actually going to grab that, delete those vertices, delete that vertice. And there's a few too many around here. I think we have like 16 to 8. So I'm just going to go delete every second edge loop. Notice how I hid the tip before I commence this, otherwise you would get a screwed up mesh, because the tip is included in the edge loop. Bridge of that, Control N, Alt H, bring that tip back, the shading is smooth, move the min crease from that one, and we'll scale that one out, scale this one out as well. Scale this, just so it fits in the grooves there a little better. Okay, and we'll now add in you guessed it, another cylinder. Alright, scale X, bring that out, scale Shift X, just thin this up a little. selected, just going to add in another cylinder. I get sort of one of these little things. Just squish it in. And the other side as well. And that sort of just like locks it into place. Alright. Just going to grab all of these and those things. Just go Control J, join those. This is no subsurf on this. That's alright. Actually, must be a subsurf on it. Ah, there we go. I'm looking at the wrong tab. Alright, so Alt D, Y. No, this one. Cursor to selected. Selection to cursor. And actually I might just go copy the X and Y location. It's just selected. I'm going to have this one here, Shift S, selection to cursor. And we need this piece to be far enough away that it will work. About there. Okay, this is really starting to look quite nice. So taking a really long time, but it is definitely getting there. So we've got our suspension. What we need now is we need to have some way of holding suspension in, which is just going to be a simple bracket, so nothing too over the top there. We're just going to add in a box for that. We are going to need to mirror these across, add in a just like a piece going to the steering wheel, so that will work. So we have a bit that goes up into the dash and then it comes up over here again, or you can have it go straight up to the steering wheel there. It's entirely up to you, it doesn't really matter at all. And you just need to repeat the process on the back as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. I'm just going to mirror this over and I will repeat this on the back, and then I will come back to you ready to begin the next part of it, which will be setting up a few of these pieces. Save you sitting through that process again. And yeah, because this really is dragging along, this tutorial, so there is a lot to cover. So yeah, I will see you in probably about 3 seconds. Okay, so I am back now, and what I've done is I've gone ahead and finished all the suspension and stuff. So I just isolate that layer. This is the finished suspension system. So you can see here that I've got sort of just quite a simple setup. It's got the same two suspensions we had before. I've got that little rail there for the steering mechanism. Just a simple bracket here that I've extruded over. So if I go into edit mode here, you can see I've simply duplicated one of those and brought it out to make this sort of triangle thing. For the brackets, they were quite simple. We have a sort of just a solidified plane that's been wrapped over, and this comes off an extruded piece here. So you won't need to go into this much detail. I've chosen to for the sake of because I can. I might have to make this a bit lower poly later, but that's fine, like so. Alright, and I'm not sure what else I hadn't done before, but of course these pieces that come in properly to this now. And what I've also done is I've made an engine. Now I haven't included the engine in this tutorial because it's not actually necessary at all, but this is something I've just quickly made up. So just gonna take you through what it is. So the first part, it's down the bottom here, is just a sort of block with another block coming off the bottom of it, and I've extruded out this ring around the top along its normals, so that's extrude and Alt S. So I'll show you, you can, if I create a couple of edge loops, select the face loop, E, Alt S, scale it out. But of course you probably knew that already, being not a beginner tutorial. Alright, next piece, you can see I've used mirror modifiers all over this to make it a lot easier. And I've also used bevels instead of actually using a subsurf, which makes it a little bit easier to use. Just going to turn on my screencast keys. Cool. Alright, so this one here, you notice that it is actually quite simple. I've simply added a cube, tapered it out, and then to make it look more complex than it actually is, I've used these things. So I've extruded in little pieces, and they are simply just extrusions. These pieces here are literally, if I can select them, they are just like that. They're separate pieces, just to add that extra level of detail. Alright, got the same thing on the top, just bits and bits extruded in. This is a sort of like a cube. Probably actually apply that mirror. Remove doubles. Alright, just to make that look a little more organised. Okay, so yeah, we've got a cube here, and to make these little notch pieces on the top, what I actually did is I added in a polygon circle with 8 sides, and then I just brought it out to sort of make that sort of shape. So I'll show you that one here now, because it was kind of a cool trick. Add in a circle, 8 sides, like so. So we scale it in so we get about what we want. We rotate by 22.5 degrees, and you simply pull this one across and pull this one up, and just get the general shape that you want, and you get something like that. Of course, avoid n-gons, you want to actually fill this out properly, but that's kind of how you get those sort of shapes. It's very, very simple. Okay, on the front here we have a little bit of a two circles I've joined together, made a sort of a cam shaped thing, and got a little belt running around the front. Now this is not overly important, likely won't be seen, but if it does, you will want to have this sort of thing spinning around and generally looking like an engine as it's flying overhead in its sort of speed like this. Not really too sure what goes on top of engines, but that seemed like a fair enough thing to put. And one of these things, which I believe is for the sparks. And I think that's it. A few pipes which are all just duplicated. This one here is just some curves, which I have sort of joined in there, and they go all the way to the back to the exhausts, which I'm pretty sure is how cars work. So it's something like that anyways. I'm not a mechanic, so I'm not expected to know these things. It's my excuse anyway. So that's what it looks like with the engine. This little grill, this can go over to the next layer. I'll bring in that layer, which is all the panels. And you notice I took the front bumper off. Now the reason for this is because the tyres were intersecting. So if I grab this one and we go cursor to selected, select both of them, and we will rotate around the cursor. So if we get a nice angle, so that's all it takes, by the way, to turn the car tyres. You'll need to reverse on the other side. You can see that we can't quite turn that far. We can turn this far with the help of that removed piece, and that is fine. That's all we need. We don't need them to lock all the way around. That's, yeah, the big wheels, they're not expected to turn much. Take a look at monster trucks. They can't turn very much at all. Okay, so hopefully I've covered everything there. If you've got any questions, send me an email or a comment. I'm sure my contact details are on underneath the video, or either that. Best thing to do is contact 3D World. They know what they're doing, and they will contact me if they so need to. Alright. Just making sure this is all sweet. Looks like I might have, yeah, I've got a bit of an intersection going on here where it's coming through. So I'm just going to need to fix this. What I'm going to do for that is move it to the other side. Yeah, that should be fine. It's just best not to have them go down before it gets to this area. In actual vehicles, I believe they do come down up here somewhere, but I just couldn't fit them around the wheels. Those wheels are just so massive. Okay, so let's continue on. We still have some work to do here. See, I've got some exhaust out the back, so they're fine like that. By the way, to create exhausts, just in case you didn't know, I'm going to create another one to show you. Shift D, X, I'm going to bring one out here. Alright, and what we want to do is we want to extrude this one up to about here, and then extrude it out again. Something like this. And use Alt S to scale this one up. And scale it along a little. Just get that big sort of area. And scale this one down and pull this back. Alright, now we can adjust the length of this to be wherever we want. Alright, and might need another one in there. Alright, and you get something looking a little like that. Now there's so many different ways that you can form exhaust coming from the tip like this. It is just a temporary tip, don't worry. When we get into texturing, what we're going to do is we're going to select this, and if I just go separate that, we're going to select this one and we're going to go Alt-C and we go Mesh from Curve, and we get something like that. Obviously it's we first need to choose these divisions down a little less. So I'm going to take them right down to 3, like so. Alt-C, Mesh from Curve. And we can then come in and we can taper these a little better. Delete the edge ones. Extrude that out. Extrude, scale it in, and extrude back in. And you get something looking like that. So we're going to do something like that, obviously a little bit more in depth, but that's a general process for converting it and fixing up those tips a little. Okay, so let's come into here now, and what we want to do is we want to create a sort of gas tank of sorts. Now, the gas tank needs to be small enough that it can fit in here. Just going to go RX 22.5. Gives it that nice flat base, which is useful for starting to work with stuff. And just flatten it out a little. Alright. So I think it roughly about this size is working for me. That's looking good. So let's just add a subdivision surface on this. Use a mirror modifier. And just apply my rotation there. Just going to add an edge loop all the way up to the end here. Extrude that in, scale it down a little, get that nice little bevel coming up. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to select this, Shift D, pull it along the X a little, extrude it along the X, Control L, let's just separate it out. Set this one here to smooth. Add in a solidify modifier. Just give it a full crease for now, or we can probably just, we have room to add in extra polygons. We're currently sitting at, by the way, with all these layers on, we're sitting at 593,000 polygons, which is mostly those tires. Oh, go away. I don't know how Windows does this. Yeah. So anyways, back to it. So yeah, we've definitely got room to add in any extra detail that we need to. Okay, so subsurf, turn that down to level 1. Let's check how that's going. Alright. Cool, that's cool for a just a strip. If you want to add an extra detail, and if you want to have these be removable, you'll have to have a sort of a clip that comes up and over. So to do clips, we separate one of these out and pull one up, and we're going to extrude this along Y. And add sort of a just a overlapping piece like this, and you can decrease that thickness if you need to. Might as well go ahead and do that now that I'm here. Okay, so make sure that they are not the same on both sides. Very important. One thing on there's dead giveaway when doing CG and trying to make it look photoreal is when things look too perfect, as in they are perfectly mirrored or perfect in some way or another. Just adding a little bit of distortion like so really does help sell the idea you're going for. Alright, so we get something like that now. And that is fine. You can go and add details like little clips and whatnot. We're just going to say that these are stuck there. It's okay. It's going to be covered in armor anyway. So yeah, actually now that I think about it, now since that's covered in armor, what you can do is you can just delete these edge loops. And put the solidify modifier after the subdivision surface, and you get a very harsh looking piece. Something like so. what I'm doing now is I'm just adding just a bracket down the bottom. Just make it look a little more realistic. The edge loop. We calculate those normals, and yeah, that side's looking pretty good too. So we get a nice little curve coming in here. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go Shift S, cursor to selected. Actually, we're going to Shift S, cursor to selected there. Add in a circle. This one here is going to have 8. Let's go 6. And I'm just going to scale this down a bit more. And this is effectively a bolt. Alright, so I'll create 4 of those using Alt D in case I want to put more detail into them later. That's alright for now. Okay, let's add a little more detail into this. And what I want to do is I want to extrude this and go scale, Shift X. Just add a little notch onto the side. Get something to look like that, and just makes it a little more interesting. Cursor selected. Let's go add in a curve. It's going to be a Bezier curve. Delete that one. Center that one. It always adds those really weird twists. It's kind of annoying, but that's alright. Okay, so in our curve settings, going to change that to full. Change the fill to set to full. Let's play around with the settings a little and create some kind of plug. So this is just going to go somewhere here, somewhere out of the way, somewhere that will never get seen up close. Alright, so just going to turn that thickness down a little so I can fit it in. somewhere about there. If I go cursor to selected, what I can do is I can go add in a cube. And I'm just going to click these. And go W, and bevel is not on that list, but it's over here. So I'm just going to bevel these. We get sort of like a section that it can plug into. Something that looks important. Alright, let's turn that depth down a little more. Alright, and get something like that. Actually save it. And not quite happy with the angle of this one. Just gonna angle it down a little. And just pull it out. Make sure that's intersecting over there. Okay, it's fantastic. Alright, so if we apply that mode modifier now, and delete the edge loop in the middle, so we don't need it. Scale this down, extrude it out, extrude it, scale it in, extrude it in, delete the faces. Sharpen up these two. And now it's up to you whether you want to sharpen up this edge or not. We can just sharpen up sort of half amount, like so. And yeah, that's that one. So yeah, this has been over an hour for this section. So I'm going to wrap it up there for our mechanics, and we will come back in the next video and sort out the next section. Alright, so stay tuned and I'll be back shortly.